Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, "We take care of our own," as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 132 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we feature a program that still feels relatively new to the league in the Seacoast Spartans. Brett Tryder joins the podcast to discuss how he's preparing for the team's fourth season in Exeter. Seacoast has taken a step forward with each and every year, and Tryder feels that he has truly been a bounce or two away from reaching the EHL Frozen Finals. To wrap things up, the E-Crew comes together for this week's Top 10 selection. I'm joined now by Brett Tryder, the head coach and GM of the Seacoast Spartans. How's it going, Brett?
Doing great, Neil. How you doing?
Good, and welcome back on to the E-Show as we now get set for your fourth year with the Spartans. Does it feel like you're heading into your fourth season?
It doesn't actually. With the crazy couple of years we've had with COVID and everything, it's hard to judge whether it seems like longer or shorter. But 4 seems like a funny number.
So when you look back on this past season, which is still in a way coming out of COVID, what are your first thoughts that come to mind for the 21-22 season?
I'm really excited about this season. We've got more returners this year, Neil, than we've had in the past. So, I can't remember being more excited about a season. Last year we had a really good team, and like everybody, I guess we ran into that injury bug. So trying to make up for it, pick up where we left off, and hit the ground running this year.
When you talk about that injury bug, yes, you were not the only team that went through that, but you can make the case that nobody had to deal with it more than you guys. How do you guys manage something like that when it feels like every week there's another, unfortunate break that you guys are handed?
Yeah, the tough part about it, Neil, is you get some momentum. You get everybody back, and everybody gets excited. So it's the ups and downs of it really that'll drive you crazy. If you knew what you were going to battle with, you could do it, and just, that's what you got and that's what you go with. But, when it's unpredictable and you start the game all excited about your team and 2 guys get hurt in the first period, like Worcester, it's, it's tough. There's no real answer to it. I don't think. You just got to keep playing.
Yeah, for sure. And on top of the injury bug, one thing that is kind of unique about what you've gone through in your first 3 seasons, twice you've had a goalie who's been, you could say, your starter halfway through the season get the chance to go to college right then and there for the second half of that current season. First, it was Nevin Tardif. Second, it was Ty Franchi. Obviously, our goal is to get these kids to college, but when those players enter your office and say that they have this opportunity, what are those conversations like for you?
If the situation's good for them, Neil, it's a no-brainer. Both were going into situations where the college needed a guy to come in and play right away, which is always not a better situation for a kid to go in knowing that they're going to get the games right away and play. So it's a tough decision. Personally, I love to see it. It's good for the goalie, but it leaves the rest of the team a little hamstrung. So, it's never an easy decision. We lost our starter that third year, or the second year, the middle year, we lost our starter to an illness and we lost him halfway through the year too. So, it's been a challenge, but there's a lot of goalies out there, and, we should be able to fill those spots.
So you could say you're almost 3 for 3 in that sense. Are you almost expecting it in year 4 as well?
I'm expecting the calls, that's for sure. I know the colleges will be chasing me down. I think, it's a conversation I'm going to have early this year with the goalies. And again, there should be enough goalies out there. You should be able to fill your net, and you want to continue doing the right thing for the guys. So at least I don't want to get blindsided by it this year. So I think it's a conversation that I'll have early.
And let's talk more about Franchi, because obviously he makes his commitment. He goes off to Lebanon Valley, gets a chance to play right away, and then has some immediate success in the UCHC. Did that surprise you at all, or did you expect that?
Oh, I expected it. He was a real high-end goalie. He battled, he loved to be in there, really competitive, kind of guy that gets mad if a goal scored on him in practice, not in an obnoxious way, just a competitive, really competitive kid. So no, it didn't surprise me even a little bit. He dealt with a little bit of concussion issues when he was with us. But when he was on, he was something special.
And earlier you mentioned the excitement that you have about players that can return this year. Look no further than William Prey. When he entered, your program this past season, did you expect a player that would literally put up an even 24 goals and 24 assists? Did that surprise you at all?
Yeah, I was surprised at that for sure. He was talented. I think he just hit stride. He got comfortable with the game, comfortable with the coaching style, and I was. Those are big numbers for him, and nothing would surprise me this year, though. The surprise is gone. Cat's out of the bag. I think he may have even surprised himself a little bit if you asked him. I think he might tell you that. But he's got a good way of looking at the game. Lends itself to our league, and I anticipate he'd be a high-end Division III player coming.
I think that's a great point that you bring up. Did you feel like he was almost underrated at times last year?
Oh, absolutely. He did some special things, and if he does it once a game or twice a game, the other coach might miss it, but it's something that we just kept seeing that, his puck protection skills and the way he sees the ice. He's a special player.
For sure. And along the same lines, I keep going back and forth here between returners and non-returners. It almost feels like Prey will be taking the role of Michael O'Brien, who you've had in years past, that's heading off to Assumption this fall. O'Brien was essentially your captain, your leader. Do you expect the same thing for Prey?
I don't know if I'd put that on Prey, to be honest with you. So I'm not entirely sure about that. We've got some, that list of returners coming back. It's a conversation I'll have with him. But he might be just is better off kind of doing what he does and that kind of and that kind of style. So I've got to feel that out a little bit. Certainly have a talk with him. You never want to pour a bunch of stuff on a kid's plate that's kind of on a roll, if that makes sense to you. No, so I think I've got to be careful of that.
It makes sense. I mean, I bring up O'Brien because he was one of my favorite defensemen to watch throughout his time in the league. Again, quietly went about his business and helped lead your locker room. To not have him or not be able to put his name down in your lineup this season. When will that finally set in for you? First game?
Yeah, I think hopefully Obi's rubbed off a little bit on some of the guys coming back, and like I said, we've got kids like Maxwell, Carson James, and Chase Conlon, guys like that, Vecchio, guys that are kind of natural leaders that and I'm sure some of the other kids are going to want to come back and assume a leadership role where they might not have last year. So I feel as good on the whole for our leadership crew. Obi's a lifetime Spartan, so you're just going to miss everything about Obi. But I think, I don't think we're going to suffer too much. I think we've got the upcoming guys to get that done.
For sure. And with every Team of the Week feature that we've done this off season, it's fun to talk about the different divisions. And obviously, no division's the same from year to year, but the North throughout its time has been very competitive from top to bottom, the 4 teams that you have. What is it, in your opinion, about your 4-team division that makes it the toughest division in the EHL?
That's a great question. We're all built very differently in our styles, coaching wise, and the teams aren't very similar, I don't think, in many ways at all. So I think it's just 4 groups of teams that want to get it done their way. Certainly Sorella came out hot and everybody wants to be an Av, right? So it's, he's got that going for him. He does a great job down there. And Coons and Trimble up in Laconia, it really, really found their groove and their recruiting areas and all that kind of stuff. And as far as Vermont goes, it's what a beautiful place to be, right? For a young hockey player, you go up to Vermont and play up there. So that's got its niche up there as well. They've got their own little recruiting pockets as well. So, I think the experience, maybe the fact that we're kind of close to everything. We're close to the North Shore. So if you're a Massachusetts North Shore kid, we're kind of right over the border. There's no travel there. So, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the North is great. I think the league is great, but I agree that, 4 teams really getting after it. It's unique where I think all the coaches get along and it's a really healthy battle. So, I love being in the North.
I think for me, the proof of your division comes from you've had 9 playoff games that you've played over the course of your first 3 years, 8 of which have been against teams from your division. 4 of them have been decided by just a single goal. When you look back and you see all of those very tight playoff games and you take a chance to kind of step back in the off season, do you get the feeling that maybe you're a bounce or 2 at points away from being in the Frozen Finals?
I don't think there's any question. This year's the year, Neil. I'm gonna get there. It's no, there's no question. It's a personality within the team, I think, that gets you there. I think, like you said, with our injuries and ups and downs and losing Franchi, we were just kind of up and down and up and down, and then you try for that last run at the end. So, I think if you can just keep building to get where you need to be, that's the best case scenario for heading into the playoffs. Not trying to recreate something and get the last bit of energy that might exist in the room. So I think the team that steady all the way. I think it gives you more of a sound mindset going into the playoffs.
And I think you just took the next answer or took the next question away from me. Is the goal really in year 4 Frozen Finals or bust?
Yeah, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. As I said, if last year, and again, everybody had injuries, but I think last year we felt that way. And had to deal with what we had to deal with, and this year there's no question about it. I think with the returning guys we have, goaltending is looking good. So I think I would be very disappointed if we didn't make the Frozen Finals this year.
Fair enough. And all the while, I think what really stands out and what shows that you guys are a perfect fit for the league throughout your first 3 years were your commitment totals. 9 the first year, 9 the second year, 8 the third year, just over the top, consistent. What is it about the program and this new spot for you, really, that's made it so easy to really churn out 9 commitments a year, really?
Yeah, the commitments are getting tougher all the time. There's but I think the fact that I coached at Plymouth State for 10 years and I kind of coach our team a little bit to the college style play, so I think if a college coach sees us play, there's no question whether that kid can do it at the next level or not. He's already doing it at that level they're looking to see. That's my goal for our team, to coach that way and that style. And I think once you get a couple of our players and you realize they're mentally ready and physically ready to be, to play at the college level, you kind of go back, right? You'll see a lot of these teams go back and find guys at a junior team that they trust. So I try to be that team, having guys know that if they grab a guy from us, they're going to be a good guy, first of all, right? Character wise, and they're going to have an idea on how to stay on the right side of the puck and play the game the right way.
For sure. And before I bring Anthony and Jeff on for the next part of this podcast. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see what we've done all summer, but every episode, every team of the week feature starts with an interview with the coach, just like yourself. And then it finishes with a what we are calling our top 10 selection as the EHL heads into our 10th season as a league. So to put you on the spot, maybe this is an easy answer for you, but can you give us, in your opinion, the first guy that should be on that list from the first 3 years of your program? Who to you is Mr. Spartan?
Oh boy. Mr. Spartan, huh? Probably Flanny, probably Shea Flanagan with Obi right there.
They'll probably both be on the list, but I will pass the message along to Anthony and Jeff that we're going to start this list at least with Shea Flanagan then. Sound good?
I'd rather have them doing it than me. So that's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know that you have a busy preseason coming up where you guys routinely go up to Jay Peak. You hit Waterville Valley on the way back down to make sure that your program is ready to go for the start of the season. So I hope that you can enjoy the rest of the offseason up until that. Good luck with the preseason, and I'll see you next at the September showcase.
All right. Sounds great, Neil. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks again to Brett Tryder for coming on the podcast this week. And with that, let's bring in the E crew now. Jeff, Anthony, another team closer to the start of this season. We've kind of hit the last, I guess you can call it, quarter of the summer because we have 4 teams left. This is, the first of 4. After this, we have the Warriors, the Little Flyers, and the Rough Riders.
Also, you know how you can tell that the summer is really winding down? And even though I'm an adult, this is still true, or so I'd like to think. When you start seeing back to school commercials, that's how you know the summer is really winding down.
I've been thinking that too, Anthony. Listen to the sports up like 24/7. They're like, "Hey, you going back to school? Might want to get this." And also today in New England, in Providence, it is 67 degrees.
I was gonna say, is he about to comment how I'm wearing a sweatshirt? Like that's kind of how it feels a little bit, right? It's been cooler.
High in downtown Boston of 70 today with rain. Rain. What is rain, guys? Have we heard? What the hell?
I have no idea.
Like, all summer.
Oh man, but
how you boys doing?
Yeah, we're doing great over here. I mean,
Seacoast Spartans, let's go, baby.
I mean, Jeff, I don't know how a year ago we put together
get this many names.
We put together an all-time team after just 2 seasons,
2
right?
years,
It doesn't feel like they're only going into their 4th year. But as I mentioned with Brett during the interview, so they were fortunate in that 1920, their first year, the COVID year. They still got a few playoff games in. They actually played 3 playoff games that year. They finished the series with the Lumberjacks, but they've played 9 playoff games over the course of their first 3 years, 8 of which were against teams from the North, 4 of which, and follow me on my ladder here, 4 of which were decided by 1 goal. So like Brett truly feels like they are a bounce or 2 away from saying that they were in the Frozen Finals. And I don't think he's really that far off.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, the Avalanche, we've talked about their playoff pedigree since they've been in the league. That's a hard team to get through. And the Lumberjacks, same thing. We just saw them in the Frozen Finals not too long ago. So, yeah, I mean, tough gauntlet living in the North that the Seacoast Spartans are at. But, yeah, they'll get through it. They'll keep building just like the rest of these teams are. And you know what the funniest thing is, too? I think one of the first guys, well, as usual, I didn't see the name. I just saw you had one name. As you've been asking each coach, who's the first person that's going to start it off. That was not the name I was thinking. And then the name I was thinking to put on first was also not in our all-time team. So that's interesting. So let's get started.
So I did ask Brett where he wanted to start, and he started with Shea Flanagan, right? But let's also remember the history that Shea Flanagan has with Brett, which includes time with the Wolves way back when, includes the Nighthawks for 2 seasons, and then the Spartans for a year. So maybe he's not Mr. Spartan, like I worded it with Brett. Maybe he's like Mr. Tryder, like Mr. Tryder's son or whatever. But he was the captain of the Spartans in that first year, the inaugural year, 1920. Had 29 points in the regular season, then 3 more in the postseason. So he really kind of helped put the glue down for Seacoast in that first season. So I'm not surprised that Brett went Shea Flanagan. I thought he would have gone to, well, who did you think he was going to go with, Jeff? Did you have a different name?
I was going to say Cooper Board. I mean,
Yes.
he really blew up last year, though. Last year was his big blow up year. So that was, I think, why we left him off last offseason prior to his explosion last year for the Spartans.
I thought he was going to go with
here.
I thought he was going to go with Michael O'Brien, his captain from last year.
Yeah, another good D-man on the back end. He was a good fantasy pick.
The points weren't, it wasn't really about the points for O'Brien. He was just more of a defensive defenseman.
But still solid, 14 points in 33 games in 21-22.
And like he was their captain this past year. So I thought he was going there. I mean, selfishly,
he was in one of those years too where D-men weren't piling in points either. Last year we had D-men that were just piling in points. 21-22 I thought was the year that or actually
2020-21, yes, for sure.
Oh boy, that was 2021. All right, I'm gonna see it.
I mean,
leave that door open.
I think O'Brien has to be on this list.
Yeah, he was
okay.
Good.
So we got technically we got 2 captains so far.
And that makes us feel better because we started off with the defenseman. Usually we're struggling we're 7 forwards in and we're like, hey guys, let's get those
maybe thinking about getting a defenseman in there.
Right. Yeah, we'll just start off with that. I like that.
But just to go back a little bit overall in the Spartans, they've been really competitive in their first 3 years. Neil, I know you were just talking about it, how they've been in the playoffs all this time. This year, they had their best offensive season yet, 147 goals. They got 19 wins. So each year, they're still a little under 500, but you can sort of see it coming together. And even right from the get-go, they've been a fairly competitive team. And I think that does say a lot about Tryder and the foundation he set over in Exeter.
And then getting someone like Ty Franchi to commit to the program, played well, and then leave for college in the middle of the season. I mean, you would probably know the best of all of us, Neil, with your heavy background in the junior hockey leagues. Me and Anthony, heavy background, but more, the broadcasting side of things. But wouldn't you say that's a compliment to an organization if a guy is taken mid-season to a college from a junior organization?
For sure. And Brett and I talked about it. The first year, it was Nevin Tardif who did that, went to Worcester State. Right. The second year, Brett referenced the starter leaving. I want to say it was Rhett Weselek, but I have to go back and see. And then this past year, they lose Franchi midseason. So I literally said to him afterwards too, again, like, is he expecting it to happen for the 4th year in a row this season that come Christmas, he'll have to get another goalie because he's going to be losing one. So, but yes, to your question, Jeff, if a college sees someone that's ready to join them now, mid-season, that's huge, right?
That means you did your job very well, and they're already ready for that advancement, which is what junior hockey is about. We talk about that ad nauseum on here. So yeah, I just think that's massive. And Drew Adams was great coming in. He was in our All-Star Classic. He was on the Blue Boys. He was very, very good.
I mean, heck, even John Profaci. The Spartans essentially had a 3-headed monster between the pipes with Ty Franchi, Drew Adams, and John Profaci. One thing I liked about it, 2 of those goaltenders, by the way, from New Jersey.
Yes.
I actually knew Franchi because sometimes he skated with the Nolt team with the Titans in 2019-2020 season. He was with their U18 team at the time.
I was rushing to try and get this post pulled up, Jeff. For Franchi to leave halfway through the season, go to Lebanon Valley, join the UCHC, and make the all-rookie team. Like that is crazy, right? You didn't even start the year there. You started the year in juniors, but that's how good he was.
A couple other EHL guys, Artem Matachenko.
There's a bunch on the UCHC. I mean, hold on, ready? Here's my memory being good, Jeff. When you combine first team, second team, and all rookie team,
Donnie Flynn,
I guess it's just 3 names here, but like really for Franchi to leave mid-season and post a 906, in the second half of the year, really, with
Right.
Lebanon Valley and make their all rookie team. That's huge.
As a goalie, to go from seeing junior hockey speed to college speed mid-season, yeah, that's what we call an adjustment, and I think he adjusted pretty well.
Do we want to start off forward D goalie?
Whoa, look at us!
Why not?
Look at us. We're getting so much better at this.
As we're about to say, see ya, and head into the regular season. We're like, hey, is that how it always works?
And you know what's a great part or a great segue off of this too? Because we bring up Franchi, we bring up Lebanon Valley, and we're beyond excited this season for our all-star team to be heading to New York, right? So Friday, October 21st, the all-star team is facing Nazareth. Saturday, October 22nd, the all-star team is facing Brockport. And also on Saturday, October 22nd, not announced really publicly yet. I guess this is the announcement I'm making right now. We'll do a story later. Saturday, October 22nd, there's another all-star team playing Lebanon Valley, but that's just made up of the South Division.
Why?
Yes. So we just
So-
confirmed it this past week with their head coach, Don Parsons. Don basically reached out and said, hey, I know you already have your all-star series scheduled. And, you know, the South Division may have like 5 guys already in New York, right? 1 from each team. He's like, but would you approve the rest of the South forming a team just to face us?
That was
Neil
my
from
next
the
question.
South.
Well, yes.
Let's
yes.
go.
I was like,
So,
is this a trick question? Like the answer is obviously yes. Like,
so those 5 guys won't be a part of it, probably, right?
so put it
That
this
will-
way: when we go
They
up
could
to
be.
New York, we're bringing a team of 26 guys, 23
Mhm.
skaters, and 3 goalies. At
Yeah.
least 9. You know, one of every team will be represented. 19 guys, right?
Mhm.
The other 7. You know, I don't know. We'll figure out. Maryland had 3 guys last year, right? Avalanche had 2. So, but we know then that at least the South Division, 1 player from each team is going to be up in New York. But then the other 5 teams are going to put together a South All-Star team to face Lebanon Valley and Ty Franchi.
I love that.
I mean, this
Hey,
came together
hey, I
out of
mean-
nowhere last week.
The South has been flexing their muscles for the last, couple seasons, saying, "Hey, we're the beep, and
Well-
we're better than everyone else. Let's see it. Go up against college. This
Well-
will be the determiner, right?" And then the North will chip in and say, "Hey, we're doing a team too." Sorella,
Well, and
and
that's the thing,
Tryder
right?
and
And that's
all
why I
those
bring
guys.
this up is because I hope
love
that
it,
like
love it.
all the colleges that call me every year about this, because this idea came out of nowhere. We were just like, UMass Boston thought, let's give it a shot. And honestly, I'm going way off rails here, but we're gonna get back to the Seacoast in a second.
We'll wrap
Like,
it back in. Don't
If
you worry.
if Nolan Egbert and Mike Pagluka don't make 56 saves against UMass Boston the first year and help us lose 3-2, like
This never gets off. the
never
tongue, right?
happens, right? But since that has taken place, we've also played Plymouth State, we've also played Curry, we've also played Salem State, we've also played Fitchburg State, and now we're gonna play Nazareth. Now we're gonna play Brockport. The South is gonna play Lebanon Valley. Like the line of these college teams at the door, ready to do something, is significant because what they like about it is our guys are essentially a month in at that point. We're starting on September 15th. That's October 22nd. So we're a month into game shape, right? And they get to have an exhibition against a team that's probably a little bit more fit than they are at that time. They get to use all their guys. They get to see all our guys. And we've seen so many kids over the years commit specifically to teams that we're playing, but as well, we put those archives on Hockey TV, and John Fiore from Hockey TV and I laugh because the number of people that go back and just rewatch those games over and over and over
Wow,
again,
huh?
because the players that get a chance to play a college team while playing juniors are literally playing college hockey while playing juniors, back to Ty Franchi going mid-season, right? So if this is the spark that creates, next year, while our main all-star team is facing, who knows, on that night, the South plays this school, the North plays this school, the Central plays this. I'll be perfect. That's the goal. So For
All
any of the-
stars everywhere.
And you know what? That's a good thing too, because then you're just getting more players playing in front of college coaches. So I
playing
know,
college
like,
hockey in front of college
Yeah.
coaches.
yes, playing against college level players, essentially collegiate hockey. So, no, that, and I was a little surprised too, Neil, when you said that. I'm like, wow, like the South Division, and that was my first thought. You know, I'm sure
So
the
now,
North Division's going to want in at some point. The Central,
yeah. And now Anthony in his head, Jeff is saying, do I go up to New York and call the games with Tyler, or do I selfishly just call the South All-Star team against Lebanon Valley? We have 2 months, Anthony. We can talk about it.
Anthony from the South should probably travel with his Southern conglomerate. I'm just saying right now, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But we'll, we got time.
So
we got time. Let's see how you looped it back in there. Ty for entry, Lebanon Valley. Man.
yeah, I mean it's awesome, right? And
Back on the rails.
Thank you to Don for that offer. I mean, I read the email and I was like, am I sleeping still? Like, yeah, the answer is yes. Like, it should be auto reply. Yes. Like, we're in.
Right.
So, but a name that Jeff brought up, if you want to keep the pattern going, forward D goalie, we can definitely include Cooper Board.
This feels like our EHL fantasy draft right now. We're snaking through forward D goalie.
he's only the leading scorer for the Seacoast Spartans.
Franchise.
I guess we could pencil him into this top 10.
A crisp 1.22 points per game ain't too bad for the Seco Spartans brand, I will say.
Want to go D next?
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah,
Oh, I know
for-
which D you're gonna pick too.
I mean,
already
it's
saw you
just
click on his name earlier.
It's
Great
just
name.
one of the best names we've ever had. And unfortunately, Jeff, we never got to hear you
butchered
say it as like a PA announcer.
I know.
Do you want to bless us with it right now?
Ooh, at 9:43 a.m.
How would you
Numbers.
announce this name?
Put me on the spot here. Bjorn. I would say, because have we correctly made sure it is Schupbach, right?
Yes, that's because Tryder would say close to Tupac. And I was like,
That's
is
right.
it that close?
I can see him just going, "Hey, Shoopy, get over here." All right, Shoopy. I'm like, oh, we can't call him Shoopy on the air. Say
No, we
Shoopy
can't.
down the pitches down the wall.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, Bjorn Shootbox. So they'll be like, Bjorn Shootbox.
That would have sounded awesome. Just saying.
Something like that.
2 seasons with the Spartans and now playing in the NESCAC at Connecticut College. Was he? I don't know if they put a C on anyone's jersey in that 2020-21 season, but maybe he was like the de facto captain that year.
That was a weird year. As I literally just earlier thought 21-22 was the COVID year. Oh, wait, it was kind of like a partial COVID year. Good Lord. These last 2 years, holy smokes. Speaking for the masses there, but
Yeah,
that's a good question, Neil. I don't remember.
So-
Some teams will do that. They'll make you'll have all assistant captains, you'll have no captains, you'll have 3 captains.
right now we've gone forward D goalie, forward D, right? I don't know if we have another goalie yet. So I want to go back
Right.
to forward for a second.
Let's say it's Drew Adams. He's 20, so he's eligible to come back. Is he committed? Do we know, or has he gone
So
elsewhere?
do we want to go do we want to really dive into the rumor mill while we're on here?
I mean, I'd love to. I love
Okay.
rumor mill. I
So-
want to do a trade deadline show this year. Like,
I know they have one goalie signed by the name of Ben Bernard, whose brother you may recognize
Oh.
was Cam Bernard, played some EHLP Rangers and played Seahawks as well. Rumor
no
mill.
affiliation of Jackson Bernard.
No affiliation of Jackson Bernard. Rumor
it.
mill I've been hearing amongst the coaches
Mhm.
is that Tristan Fatadad may be the
Oh,
starting
that's-
goalie for the Seacoast Spartans this year. So I don't know
think I
what that
heard that too.
means, all that means for Drew Adams, but I think we haven't had one of these in a while where we've put a present player, like a known 100% present player on the list, and we have to include William Prey.
Yeah.
I mean, just the symmetry alone of combined between the regular season and postseason last year, he had 24 goals and 24 assists. Like, he should have been number one on my list, but
Winning the Mr. Symmetry Award. William Prey.
I just
That'll
think
be a new
he's
award this year.
so. I think he went so underrated last year, and I mean, I could pull up while we're here. We should try to figure this out. How many multi-point games he had? Because I remember, like, it felt like every other game it was like William Prey 3-point night, 4-point night, you name it, and he may not be as underrated this year. I think people will recognize who he is a little bit faster. But he was, if Cooper Board was the top player for Seacoast offensively last year, then Prey was like 1A, right?
So you're saying he's going to be on a lot of coaches' massive whiteboards, Neil? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
He's going to be drawn up in that
Like
number.
here,
And
4-point game, 2-point game,
Ooh.
3-point game,
Yep.
hat trick, followed by a 4-point game.
3 points against
3
the Wolves
point,
late this
3
season.
point.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the final 5 games of the year, right? 2 points, no points. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points.
He only had 2 games in like a 10-game stretch where he went pointless.
Yeah.
The Czech Republican native.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
He's from the
Prey is a
Czech.
really good player.
Yeah,
and
he's from Czech. Look at that flag, boy. I believe.
I remember calling
I
the
saw Czech
game
Republic
in
flag
a
next to his name.
showcase, but
Oh.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm right. Thank
I-
you.
I'm also confused by Nashville, North Carolina.
Oh.
We have to figure that out this year. But sorry, Anthony, go on.
no, I remember calling a game between the Seacoast Spartans and the Little Flyers, and that game went into overtime. The Little Flyers won, but the Spartans erased a 2-goal deficit late in the second half. William Prey scored to cut the deficit to 1, and then I think it was Thomas McGaffigan who scored with just over 20 seconds left in the game. Definitely one of the more exciting games I've called in. And I got to see firsthand just how good players like William Prey and Cooper Board really were, because they were all over the place. They're generating chances the entire game. It was such a fun game to call.
Is McGaffigan a candidate for this list? 1 season with the Spartans, 41 points combined. Heading off to Assumption this fall. He actually could have returned, but he's ready to go to school right now.
Yeah, I liked him.
Okay.
He was one of those
40
bottom
points
guys
in
that
45 games.
Yeah.
He makes a strong case for himself.
Tryder moved him around a lot too. I think if I remember correctly, he was more of like he was a good sandpapery guy too, and getting the corners for a smaller guy at 5'9", 174, but didn't shy away from physicality and contact.
I'm gonna put him
Love
right
those
here
guys.
for now, just so we're thinking about it, because another forward that I loved the year I won Fantasy Jeff, Azam Jiwa.
Oh yes, I think you got him on that list real quick last year. I think he was
Yes.
like the second or third guy we put on there.
So he had 37 points in the regular season in 2020-21, and assists in the postseason. Now at USM.
So say he resides collegiately in, Neil's favorite state, so I might give him a few extra points. University of Southern Maine. I don't know. Just saying. We haven't mentioned Maine too much in the off season this year.
No,
I can.
saving it for the regular season. So I mean, Jiwa was on the all-time team that we put together. McGaffigan wasn't, because this past season was McGaffigan's first year. Clendenin Stewart.
My boy.
I mean, I gotta go.
Biggest fantasy regret of all time. Man, did he make me pay for that. Well,
Let me find. That was 2020-21.
he did it to me last summer. He's going to do it to me again. He's going to find that stretch that I sent Clendenin packing. We should do that format again too, where we that was when me, you, Brittany, and Kyle. That was that season when we did, what was it? We had that massive roster, and then we had to shrink it down. That
Yeah,
a fun
it
element.
was a very special year.
And Clendenin Stewart was part of the trade deadline special that year, coming over from the Eclipse to the Spartans, and
That's this a short 6'7".
The Tree, as they called him.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
what
mean-
Brittany said they nicknamed him, the Tree. And he's
So
a
he
rower
had-
now. Isn't he a rower and
He's a
a
Division I rower at George Washington University.
But if you look at his EP page, I think he's playing hockey there too. It said ACHA, and it looked like he had like 7 points.
Hold,
So
please.
So he's playing hockey and rowing. And perfect frame for rowing. 6'7", 225.
Yeah.
I mean,
You are right, Jeff.
right?
I mean, the question is, so we put up, after coming over, you put up 11 points in 13 games for the Spartans. Regular season, right?
Mhm.
No, sorry. That was made Eclipse. Regular season,
Oh, there
he
you go.
put up 19
19
and 15. Then in the postseason, I mean, this
That hat
is
trick against the Avalanche.
this
the
is just the
5-4
game
win.
I remember the most, right?
Yeah.
Because
Did
this
this
was
was the game winner too?
Yes, this was the game that knocked the Avalanche out in 2020-21, only for them to get back in via the at-large. Whole different podcast about that later.
I was gonna
But-
say, careful bringing that one up. The
But
Cinderella
he
season.
he literally factored in on 4 of the 5 goals in that win over the Fs. Right?
huge.
Like, is that one game performance? This is the overtime winner. Remember, he tapped it in.
Mhm.
Is
I
that
remember the video and the
one
picture.
game performance enough to get him on the top 10? He was on the
13
all-time team.
Yeah, and for a team that's only been around 3 years, I mean, it's not like we're having 10
That,
years.
that has
to pick
that
from.
has to be their biggest win in franchise history so far.
Yes.
So good points made by both of you. I'm a big Clendenin the Tree Stewart fan, so you don't have to convince me.
And look,
Happy
even
to put
even
him
if
on.
the Avalanche got the at-large bid, for the Spartans to still upset the Avalanche like that is no small feat, because the Avalanche, had this second best record just behind the 87s.
Yeah, none of us saw that coming. That was that was like all caps lock text message that day. And it was like, did you guys see who just got knocked out? Uh-oh. Defending champions gone?
You know what? We're gonna go look back now.
But they were not gone.
Jesus, Jeff.
Then we had quite the interesting championship game that year with the one Boston Junior Rangers.
Yeah.
Offsides, anybody?
No.
Another
Um,
episode for no time. See you later.
These are last year's brackets, which was a
I wanna see mine.
rematch of
mine.
Avalanche versus Spartans. Remember this?
Mhm.
It was a rematch from the year before when the Spartans had knocked them out. I'm just seeing if any of us picked the Spartans. I guess we didn't. But we all
ye have little faith.
we all said in 3 games though, right? So
Mhm.
that upset from the year before made us wonder if they were going to give them a hard time again this past season. So, and that upset, to bring it back around, because I keep knocking us off the rails, was because of Clendenin Stewart. Is he on
Yes.
this list?
I'm fine. I'm more than fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I think you guys made some good points. Like we said, 3 years of this team, he was pivotal, the biggest part of their biggest playoff win to send the defending champion New Hampshire Avalanche home in that season. London and Stewart, write it down. There we go. Boom. Lock it up. Oh, we have 7 now?
So let's go back. Well, if we
This is fast. 1, 2, 3, 4.
we
5,
have
6,
7, if we
7.
include
2.
McGaffigan and Jiwa, we're at 9, right? So
Mhm.
just to rip through some of the names that were on the all-time team that we haven't included yet on the top 10. We have Flanagan. We're thinking about Chiwa. We just added Stewart. Ashton Collazo actually spent time with Walpole, Worcester, then Seacoast. Now is heading into his sophomore year at Framingham State
That's right. He was big for Walpole this past year.
for what was that, Jeff? The Walpole his first year. Yeah, I'm saying he went Walpole.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm
he went
thinking Ashton
Walpole.
Elaine. Sorry. Wrong Ashton. Ashton Collazo, Ashton Elaine. Whoops. Hey-o.
Yes.
Wrong Ashton. Thank you. Sorry.
We want to talk about Maine. Drew Eade, my boy from Maine.
Jacob Dubé from Old Town, Maine.
Yeah. Scotty Osani. I remember he was actually playing club hockey and Brett convinced him to come back and play junior hockey, had a solid year. Henry Pendleton, Conrad Schmid, Jackson Penner. He was from Canada, I want to say, was huge in that 1920 season. Jack Morton, a former Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knight. I don't remember Lavrov for some reason, but he was good enough for Jeff and I put him on
I was like, what?
to put him on the all-time team. We have O'Brien, Nick Nolt, and Nick Labruzzi, two guys that ended up at USM also, Jeff. Andrew Clouden was rock solid. Louis Valente at Worcester State. We talked about Nevin Tardif leaving mid-season to go to Worcester State as a goalie. Dan Long did the same thing with Westfield State as a defenseman. I remember Jakob Wetman, that 2020-21 season, was a huge reason that the Spartans knocked out the Avs on their way. They actually ended up losing that year to the Lumberjacks, who went on to the Frozen Finals. There were two teams from the North that year, but there's a lot of guys we can choose from here that were on the all-time team. A couple of names that we have circled separate, and probably some names that we could even look at that haven't been mentioned yet at all. You know, I just had it here. Who is the Carson Whitman from this past year? He had a ton of speed. I don't know if he can return.
Kenny Maxwell,
I know is returning. I know Whitman can return. I'm assuming Tryder wanted to bring him back. So where do we want to go? There's a lot of options.
Yeah. Colin Marks was another good one too. He was a good centerman, 2-year guy. Had some injury issues though.
Yes.
He only played in 38 games. 5 his first year, 33 last year, but to get 22 points in 33 games, someone that should definitely mention. Started out with the Avalanche too, so crossed the state of New Hampshire. Went from Hooksett to Exeter in the 2020-21 season.
If we want to go back, I think that despite all the names that I just mentioned too, I still think McGaffigan and Giwa did enough to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Which then just gets us down to the last guy that we need.
Yeah, Giwa, without a doubt, in that COVID season was very, very good player. One of those guys that was popping up in the EHL stats leaders for a long time, and because that was that year too, and not everybody played the same amount of games. So he played 38 games that year, and he had 37 points, 15 goals, 22 assists. So yeah, I'm fine. Let's add Giwa, McGaffigan. Yeah, so we have one more left. Do we do forward? Do we go D? Do we go goalie?
You guys tell me where you want to go.
Anthony, what do you think, my man? Go to the man from the South to give us a little.
We want to keep on with the USM theme. Nick Nolt. He was a leader for the Spartans as well. He actually, unique story for him, had played midgets with the Spartans. I guess you could say left the program because they didn't have a junior team in that 18-19 season, and then went back when they added a junior team for that 19-20 season. I mean, if we're going off PIMS alone, Jeff loves that.
130.
Give me some PIMS, baby. 130. Come on down.
Another captain of the Spartans that 19-20 season.
And you know, it's funny, Neil, because I actually remember going to the first showcase in Exeter when they had hosted. And, you know, this is their first season in the EHL. I remember interviewing Brett Tryder, talking about hosting the showcase, about joining the league, because even though I was still just working with the 87s, I was still doing interviews for you to put on social media.
Yep.
And I just remember doing the interview with Brett Tryder, and he took the microphone out of my hands and he was talking. He was looking straight into the camera. And that was the first time anyone has ever done that. So I'm just looking at him, and it's on the interview, and my body language is just like, what are you doing?
Anthony, when I post this on Thursday, can you please try and dig back and find when he takes the microphone out of your hand and like quote tweet it so it pops back up or something like that? I mean,
Right.
I totally forgot about that. He wanted to hold the microphone. Like,
Well, another thing I like about the Exeter Arena too is that they have those mini banners up in the like
Yes.
the rafters in the
Yes.
concourse, the lobby, whatever you want to call it, and you have all these players who have played for their youth team. And I remember one name that stuck out to me was Tate Singleton. He played for the Spartans for a couple of years. He went out to play for the Nolt team with the Titans. He's one of the, if we did a top 10 list for the Titans, like he would be in it. He's that good of a player. He's at the Ohio State right now. And this past season, I saw it and I had messaged him. He told me that he really enjoyed his time over there. And, it's a shame that they didn't have the EHL team because maybe he would have played a season as, I don't know, a 16-year-old, tear it up and then go to the North American Hockey League and USHL like he did.
because
Yeah,
they're
they have a lot of big names in that. I used that as my post this year when we were up at Exeter. A lot of big names that have walked through the Spartans doors.
in their they call it the Spa Academy. I mean, it's Seacoast. They call it it's Seco's Performance Academy, right?
Yeah,
SPA Spa. They call it the Spa, but
Love
their
that.
midget programs are phenomenal, right? Like so, they had this player Kim Yelmerson actually play a game with the Spartans EHL team randomly this past year, right? He's going to play in the NA
Scored.
though this season.
Not bad.
Like, look at the points he put up in their
Holy
midget program. So it's
16U AAA, 34 goals, 41 assists, 75 points, 36 goals, 31 assists, 67 points, 15U. Wow.
yeah. I mean, if we
Yeah.
really want to extend this episode, we could just go through some of these midget players. So actually, another player that got a chance to play an EHL game. There he is, right there. Look at that, Hickling Images.
Thank you, Dan and Margaret.
Ollie
you guys. See you soon.
Jeunesse, right? Got to actually play 3 games with the EHL team this past year. And then
Name,
finished
Ollie
the season
Jeunesse.
with the Maine Nordiques. That's 2 players so far. Now, what I should remind everyone of is when you go to the Maine Nordiques website and you click on their staff, Brett
See
Tryder's
someone's
name is right
Mhm.
there
Yes,
as
it is.
director of scouting. So
One Terry
all-
Watt joins him this year.
yes, all of that ties in together. But
Makes sense.
it goes back to Anthony's point of, they have all of the junior players that have advanced on to the various Division 2 and 3 schools, and then they also have a bunch of youth players that some of them have got a cup of coffee, playing a game here or there with the junior program, and have advanced on to programs in the NA. I mean, there's a bunch of kids that they're sending off to the Maine Nordiques this year. So I don't know if any of those guys fill our 10th spot here, but it's as we do every week with this, there's a million names that we want to make sure that we at least mention.
Yeah.
So for this 10th spot, we really could go anywhere.
I mean, the 10th spot, if you really
part
want to
of-
get to it, we could say the Rinks at Exeter Bar could take the 10th spot. That is a phenomenal
Oh my
thing.
god. Part of me wants to include
Love
Drew
that.
Adams.
Okay.
He did play 30 games. I think that his numbers aren't too far off from Ty Franchi. And Franchi wasn't there as long.
I'm kicking myself for not finding out what his plans are for this year.
Hmm.
But, another Michigan kid.
A 901 his first year, then a 909 his second year.
You want to, hey, Jeff, because he's from Michigan, do you want to plug the Michigan Combine real fast?
Like I did for the show, or the
For
award show last
for the
week.
award show, I think I had you plug it like 6 or 7 times.
Yes, you did. He's from Grossi Isle. Is that how you say that? Wow, Grossi Isle.
I think it's
Gross
gross.
eel?
I think it's gross.
Gross Isle. Grossi Isle. This kid's not from Michigan. Get him out of here. Yeah, let me plug your showcase and butcher your town name.
I'm good with that, Anthony.
Yeah, we could do that. Drew Adams is solid. And again, it's like we said, 3 years there's not a huge bank of guys to pick from, but Adams, yeah. And who knows if he comes back this year, maybe him and Fatty Dad become a 1-2 duo and Tristan Fatty Dad. We'll see.
For
a guy you could depend on last year, though, right? He came in and helped a lot when you lost Franchi. So
yeah, I think that for a team that really is still kind of new, this is a pretty damn good top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good combination.
Are we good with this?
I'm good.
Write it down.
Our top 10 players in Seco Spartans junior history, EHL history. Shea Flanagan.
Not the Utes.
No
Utes.
Shea Flanagan, Michael O'Brien, Ty Franchi, Cooper Board, Bjorn Schupbach, William Prey, Clendenin Stewart, Thomas Pagaffigan, Azam Jiwa, Drew Adams. A great combination of forwards, defensemen, goalies, captains, players that have left mid-season, players that can return, players that could return but are ready to go to college now, and a player that is on a Division I rowing scholarship and also playing club hockey there. I mean, this is an awesome, every guy has a different background here. I think that's what makes this top 10 one of the coolest ones so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with that, we have just 3 left, guys. So
that's it.
Next week, I'm thinking we'll probably do the Warriors. Week after will be Little Flyers. So back-to-back original 6 franchises that have been in the league since 2013. And then we'll wrap things up with the Rough Riders. So back-to-back original 6 franchises. Rough Riders, though, used to be Oilers. So
that's either going to make our jobs easier or tougher.
Exactly. So if we only use 4 years of history this week, we're going to be using 9 years of history each of the last 3 weeks. And a reminder to myself, we better have Tom Wilms come on to help with that Little Flyers episode. So
absolutely.
Right.
But 3 weeks left, and then we'll be into the season, right? The 4th episode after that will be our season preview, which, as we've mentioned, now that it feels like it's 60 degrees outside, it's almost hockey season.
We're ready to go. See you boys next week.
Yeah, talk to you guys then.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.